A man who lived near the Appalachian Mountains was used to hiking alone, and nothing had ever struck him as unusual, until one trip changed that sense of comfort forever. While walking along the trail, he recorded a sound unlike anything he'd ever heard in those woods. It might have been an animal, but the tone was wrong. Too sharp, too unnatural to belong to any wildlife he recognized. The scream tore through the forest, echoing between the trees and freezing him in place. As the silence settled, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching him from deep within the timberline. Was it coincidence, or had he just experienced his first truly eerie Appalachian encounter? This footage reveals the terrifying ordeal of two indigenous hunters, Frank and Donald, during what was supposed to be a simple trip into the mountains of Alberta, Canada. Neither of them could have imagined that only one would make it back. At the start of their outing, the two split up, each choosing different vantage points along the river valley to watch the game trails from elevated stands. But as daylight slipped away, Frank began hearing strange echoes drifting through the forest, unsettling enough that he pulled out his camera and started recording the eerie sounds.
It's not that far from me.
The footage captured sharp impacts and heavy cracks, as though something large was slamming into trees nearby. And the moment Frank climbed down from his stand, those noises grew louder, closer, far more aggressive.
Sounds like something's hacking away at a tree. I'm getting down.
Chasing the direction of the sounds, he spotted what looked like a freshly fallen tree farther up the trail. Uneasy, he decided it was time to leave and ride his ATV over to meet Donald before the mountains swallowed the last light. But when he arrived at Donald's stand, a gut-wrenching realization hit him. Something was terribly wrong.
Dawn?
Donald had vanished without a trace, and the same disturbing sounds that stalked Frank earlier were now here too. Except this time they carried a darker, more threatening edge.
Shit, man. Just heard something again.
For a moment, Frank wondered if this was some twisted prank, but the relentless noise, echoing through the trees, shattered any hope of that. He rushed back toward his ATV, desperate to find Donald somewhere along the way, only for things to spiral even further when the ATV refused to start.
Hey! Is that you?
Stranded deep in the wilderness with no working vehicle, Frank had no choice but to continue on foot. The forest around him grew darker, thicker, and the ominous sounds continued trailing him, inch by inch from behind.
Out of here.
As he pushed through the brush, his flashlight caught something that froze him in place. A scene so chilling it stopped him mid-step. Whatever had been out there with them wasn't human. Fresh drag marks and disturbed ground suggested deliberate movement, as though something had been tracking them from the beginning.
Oh, what the hell is this?
Just ahead, he found a crude shelter built from snapped branches and tightly woven twigs. He didn't dare investigate further, because those nightmarish noises began closing in again. For several minutes, he ran blindly through the pitch-black forest, unable to widen the distance between himself and the unseen pursuer. Cornered with no safe way out, Frank braced himself for a confrontation that nearly ended his life.
It's stalking me, whatever it is.
He lashed out in self-defense, missed, and was immediately overpowered. Pinned to the snow by an unidentified attacker, Frank's only chance of survival was to play dead. His camera showed his limp body being dragged across a snowy ridge for what felt like an eternity. Hours later, he regained consciousness inside what appeared to be the creature's den. The structure resembled the strange wooden formations he'd seen earlier near the valley, surrounded by smaller replicas. But this time, they were adorned with bones, some cracked, some rotting, creating a grotesque display that turned his stomach. Nearby, he found a small, unsettling arrangement that appeared to contain the remains of a young creature, something not quite like anything he recognized. Realizing he was moments away from joining those remains, Frank made a desperate escape. He raced back toward the river valley where the hunt had begun. And there, he finally found Donald, or what was left of him. The two hunters had ventured into the mountains together, but only one walked out. Donald was never seen alive again. So what exactly did Frank and Donald encounter that night? A violent hidden figure living deep in the wilderness. A predator known only to the darkest corners of the Alberta mountains. How Frank managed to survive remains a mystery, and this story feels far from over. On November 5th, 2020, deep inside an unnamed stretch of wilderness far from any trace of civilization, Dr. Hannah Straight captured something far more unsettling than the peaceful solo travel footage her YouTube channel usually features. She's known for taking her camper into places most people would never dare explore. But on this night, she experienced something that left her genuinely shaken. It began when she heard movement just outside her small campsite, an unexpected disturbance, in the kind of silence where nothing should be wandering close. And for reasons even she admits she didn't fully understand. She stayed long enough to see whether the presence would return.
I was sleeping, dead asleep last night, above my cab. All of a sudden, I heard something rummaging through my cab. I was trying to be super quiet, super still. I didn't want to move because I didn't know what was in the back of my truck. And I rolled over and peeked through the window. And I swear there was like this huge thing standing there going through my stuff. I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. There's no way it's a person. I'm miles from civilization. I always lock my doors at night. I must have forgotten. He must have heard me, or whatever it was heard me, because it dropped everything and scampered off into the woods behind me. Like, ran. It was on 2 legs, so it definitely wasn't a bear, because last time I checked, I've seen a lot of bears, and bears run on 4 legs. You're out here in the middle of nowhere in the dark. Door was open, and this bin was on the ground. The lid was off. There's food all over the ground, and I was like, oh my gosh, is this really happening? Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do right now. I just stuck around today because I want to try to figure out what's going on. I just kept my top popped down because if anything happens, I want to be able to bolt out of here with no problems. It's getting dark, and I want to try to see if I can get something on camera, like what this potentially might be. I don't have the greatest equipment for night shooting because I don't typically shoot at night, so you're gonna have to bear with me. I have multiple forms of protection. I don't know. We're gonna check out and see what happens. It's getting dark. This is a switch I'm gonna use if I see whatever it was lurking in the woods. I'm gonna flip the lights on, turn the camera on, and hopefully I can get it on camera.
She said she woke up to a sudden noise inside her truck camper, an intrusion that should be impossible in such remote backcountry. When she looked through the window, she claimed she saw a massive figure towering over her belongings, before it abruptly dropped everything and sprinted upright on 2 legs. By morning, the open door, overturned bin, and scattered food proved that something had actually been inside. Yet, despite every instinct telling her to leave immediately, she chose to stay one more night.
Well, I didn't get much sleep last night for obvious reasons because I had an unidentified creature crawling around in the cab of my truck. And tonight, I want to stay up all night so I can potentially catch it on camera. So I figured it's the perfect opportunity for me to stay up with my Dr. Straight instant mushroom coffee with 7 superfood mushrooms. But for now, I'm just going to keep drinking my coffee and perform Operation Surveillance for this unidentified creature. I have the window behind me, the window in front of me, and the window on the door. So I've got all angles covered. Leave me a comment below and let me know the creepiest thing you've ever seen when you're out camping. While I'm down here, I might as well mention, you might wonder why the camper is down. Well, I want to make sure I can get out of here really quickly if I need to, and you can actually sleep without the camper popped up. There's also a bed that you can lay out here. You flip the table and secure it and then put the cushions over it, and you can sleep here instead of up on the bed above. And you can still access all the amenities down below. I can access the fridge, all my storage, I can charge my camera and my phone, and I can access the heater. So I'm just chilling out here, waiting for this creature to come alive. I'm a little sleepy. Hopefully I don't fall asleep and miss this guy. I didn't miss him last night. He wasn't very quiet, I'll tell you that. Must have wanted my Oreos. I don't blame him. Those are my favorite. And yeah, I know. I'm not really supposed to be eating Oreos because I'm a health professional, but you know, that's going to be you and I's little secret. Well, it's been about 3 hours and I haven't seen or heard anything, but I'm going to keep waiting. Still waiting around. Haven't seen or heard anything. It's getting kind of late. Did you see that thing? I wonder if the outside camera got it. I don't know what that thing was, but that was insane. I've never seen anything like that creature before. It's just ripping through the woods. It is terrifying, and I need to get out of here right now. I gotta go. This is insane. I gotta shut this off.
That night, she kept the camper top locked down, stayed awake with coffee, and watched the windows as the hours passed in a suffocating stillness. Nearly 3 hours later, a fast, blurred shape darted past her window, so close and so sudden it made her jump. She said what terrified her wasn't just the movement. It was the confirmation that the same thing that rummaged through her supplies had returned, and without hesitation. She shut off the camera instantly and prepared to leave at first light, certain that remaining 1 more minute in that isolated forest was a mistake she'd never repeat. Some viewers questioned her fear, her editing choices, and why she stayed after claiming something huge had entered her camper. Others said her experience matched encounters they've had in deep, remote forests. Her story now sits in that eerie middle ground between skepticism and recognition. No clear answers, no certain truth. If something really came back for her that night, its intentions remain a chilling mystery. Was it merely curious, hungry, or something far stranger stalking the wilderness? Alone and miles from help. What approaches twice, yet flees the moment it's seen? On October 17th, 2025, the channel Live Today Wonderland, usually known for peaceful Midwest camping trips and beautifully crafted outdoor stories, uploaded a new episode filmed deep inside Minnesota's Superior National Forest near the Boundary Waters. What began as an idyllic fall escape filled with golden sunlight, mirror-still lake water, and the comforting crackle of a campfire would quietly shift into something far more unsettling. They had called it the perfect campsite, until the moment it stopped feeling that way. The episode opens with sunlight spilling through the canopy as the couple and their dog Lou arrive at what looks like a dream setting, a wide lakeside clearing tucked beneath towering pines. Their voices echo happily as they set up camp, the tent perched under the trees, only a few steps from the waterline. Dinner sizzles on the cast iron, crispy pork sandwiches with melted cheese and warm onion buns. As nightfall settles, everything feels peaceful. Firelight flickers, conversations fade into the cool evening, and tomorrow's plans drift softly through the dark.
That sandwich was amazing, so we're just gonna relax. We may try to put on a YouTube video. Got a lot of exploring to do tomorrow with you guys. We're gonna check out some stuff up here. Boundary Waters area is always amazing. Gunflint Trail. Maybe we can get see a moose. And try to find some of the colors. The colors are not as profound here as they were by Sylvania in the UP. But at Lutsen Mountain is pretty bright, so we'll go over there. But anyways, cheers, you guys. We'll see you in the morning.
Cheers.
They talk about exploring more of the Gunflint Trail, maybe catching sight of a moose at sunrise. But something quiet, subtle, begins to shift in the atmosphere. Morning arrives cold and unnervingly still. They brew coffee, bake a spice pie, and watch Lou bound through fallen leaves scattered across the misty forest floor. Yet tiny details start to feel off. The forest seems unusually frantic. Squirrels tearing through the campsite without hesitation. Chipmunks darting straight into their tents, behaving strangely bold and chaotic. Later, the couple heads into Grand Marais for donuts and groceries. A gentle, ordinary northern morning. But when the footage returns to camp, something has changed. The once perfect site now feels abandoned. The narrator quietly mentions they're packing up earlier than planned, abruptly, offering no explanation. There's only the muffled clinking of gear being loaded into the truck. Then the video ends. Nothing more is said. Viewers were left uneasy. Some speculated wildlife, or maybe even another person, pushed them to cut their trip short. Others joked about bears or Minnesota's relentless mosquitoes. But a few noticed something in that final scene. Something the couple seemed to be hiding. The next upload made the situation even stranger. Still, no explanation. No damaged gear, no sudden storm, no mention of danger at all. Just a calm, vague comment that it was simply time to go. Maybe it truly was nothing. Or maybe some places feel perfect, right up until the moment you finally understand why no one else camps there. On November 2nd, 2025, paranormal investigator Jose Flores, creator of the YouTube channel Jose Flores Terra, journeyed deep into a forest locales called El Bosque de las Brujas, the Forest of the Witches. His channel focuses on solo overnight investigations in places steeped in fear, folklore, and things better left undisturbed. But this Halloween-shadowed night would bring him closer to the unknown than anything he had ever attempted. He began filming just before sunset, retelling the legends woven into these woods.
Bosque que es denominado como el bosque de las brujas, y lo han denominado de esta manera, ya que las personas han tenido distintos encuentros con brujas en este lugar. Supuestamente se dice que este bosque está infestado de brujas, ya que han visto bolas de fuego que aterrizan directamente en este lugar. La idea es quedarme a acampar completamente solo y pasar la noche en este lugar para ver si todo lo que se cuenta de este bosque es completamente cierto.
Locals speak of drifting fireballs, bolas de fuego, and hikers who vanished without leaving even a scrap of evidence behind. Only one survivor had ever returned, claiming his friends were taken after strange lights floated down through the trees. With a loaded backpack and a marked route to avoid getting lost, Jose pushed deeper into the forest.
Después de ya un buen rato, ya terminé de armar la casa de campaña. Yo creo que está bastante amplio este lugar. Y ahorita voy a meter todas las cosas adentro. La idea, pues, es permanecer dentro de la casa de campaña todas estas horas. Y conforme vaya avanzando el tiempo, pues, ir a dar recorridos a través del bosque, tratando de no perderme, pero caminar entre el medio del bosque para ver. Se los juro que acabo de escuchar como si alguien hubiera silbado en la parte de atrás. No sé si se captó ahí en cámara, pero yo escuché como un silbido. Está complicado únicamente utilizar una mano para hacer las cosas, pero pues bueno, ahorita termino de abrir la casa de campaña y pues bueno, ya voy a comenzar ahora sí instalarme adentro ya.
While searching for a place to camp, the woods answered with soft footsteps. They came from behind him, faint at first, then steadily closer, forcing him to turn and look for an explanation that never showed itself. Once he found a clearing and pitched his tent, another sound broke the stillness. Two low whistles echoing from somewhere in the dark. Inside the tent, Jose checked his gear and noted the time. 9:11 p.m. on Halloween night. The detail alone shifted the atmosphere. His phone had no signal. The woods were unnervingly quiet, except for the wind brushing the thin fabric of his shelter.
Por más que intentaba estar tranquilo dentro de la casa de campaña, se escuchaban continuamente pasos y ruidos extraños que aparentemente daban a indicar que alguien más estaba conmigo o que algo extraño me estaba acechando esa noche.
Acabo de salir ahorita porque de nuevo se están escuchando pasos. Ay, eso que se escuchó, si no me equivoco, es como una lechuza. Sí, eso es una lechuza que está volando por aquí cerca. Voy a ver si alcanzo hoy. Mucha gente que no cree que este tipo de animales tenga que estar relacionado con las brujas, pero es extraño.
Then came the call of a lechuza, an owl long associated with witchcraft in Mexican folklore. Moments later, a sudden sweet scent drifted around him out of nowhere. He whispered that aromas appearing without a source were said to signal the presence of something unholy. Then came soft moaning, followed by fast, heavy footsteps circling the tent. The nylon wall shook violently from the outside. His breathing grew ragged, his narration cut off, and through the mesh, a pale, motionless face appeared, white still, staring directly at him.
Hey, ¿quién anda ahí? Hey. Estaba parado aquí, algo blanco observándome. Estaba mirándome fijamente. Se los juro que esto No han montado, se los juro 100%. Había algo blanco observándome y se alcanzaba a ver como una cara blanca. Había algo viéndome acá. Se los juro de verdad. Estoy temblando ahora mismo. Estoy temblando. No sé qué hora sean, está haciendo muchísimo frío. Yo voy a terminar, voy a desarmar la casa de campaña y me voy a ir de acá. Yo lo siento, la verdad, muchos quieren que yo me quede toda la noche y despierte acá y me levante acá. Pero al ver este tipo de cosas y estando solo completamente, ustedes pueden ver lo alterado que estoy en este momento y que esto no se trata de ningún tipo de juego. Estoy solo acá. ¿Quién me va a estar ayudando a hacer todas estas cosas? No hay nadie acá. Voy a desarmar la casa de campaña y yo me voy de acá. Yo lo siento, pero me voy a retirar de acá. Yo estoy solo acá, me estoy arriesgando 100%. Yo no puedo permitir que haya alguna persona que esté por acá acechándome, que haya alguien cerca de mí, no sé. No sé qué sea, pero me voy a retirar de acá.
Frozen in terror, Jose whispered that what he was seeing wasn't human. Within minutes, survival instinct took over. He tore down part of his setup and ran. As he sprinted through the trees, footsteps pounded behind him, not close enough to catch him, but never fading far enough to feel safe. He eventually reached the river, crossed it, and stumbled back to his car waiting in the pitch dark. His final shaky words insisted that none of it was staged. Viewers later noticed that 2 distinct whistles were caught on the recording. Some linked them to the Bruja legend. Others believed they were warnings. But everyone agreed. The terror in his voice was real. Jose escaped the forest, but one detail still haunts him. He never identified the source of that sudden, sweet scent. Locals say witches reveal themselves that way, which raises a chilling question. What if it wasn't the woods calling to him, but something in the woods that had already chosen him?